The sound of rain hitting the workshop roof was drowned by the shouting of Mr. Cranston, the garage owner. "You're fired, Jake. You don't fix things for free in my shop." The young mechanic stood frozen, holding a wrench still wet with oil. Just an hour earlier, he'd repaired an old woman's broken wheelchair, refusing to take a dime. Jake's heart pounded as he tried to explain, but the boss's eyes were cold with greed. Customers watched as Jake packed his small toolbox, his pride heavier than the storm outside. What no one knew was that this small act of kindness would soon change everything. That old woman wasn't just anyone, and by tomorrow morning, Jake's quiet street would look like a movie scene. Jake spent the night thinking about his mistake, if kindness could even be called that. He sat on his porch, looking at the rain-soaked streets, wondering how he'd tell his mother he lost another job. His phone buzzed with missed calls from friends, but he ignored them all. Then, as dawn broke, he heard a low rumble outside. 7 identical black SUVs rolled up one by one, blocking his driveway completely. His heart skipped. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, whispering. The engine stopped, and from the lead car, a tall man in a dark coat stepped out. "Jake Miller," he called. Jake froze, gripping his wrench instinctively. "You're coming with us. Mrs. Howard wants to see you." The name sent chills down his spine, the same old lady whose wheelchair he'd fixed. Inside the sleek SUV, Jake sat silently, glancing at men in black suits sitting beside him. No one spoke. The city passed by in silence until they reached a vast mansion on the outskirts. As the doors opened, the scent of roses filled the air. Mrs. Howard, now dressed elegantly and standing strong, greeted him with a warm smile. "You fixed more than a wheelchair yesterday," she said softly. "You fixed my faith in people." Jake looked confused. She led him to a room filled with photos, medals, and blueprints. "I built this company from scratch, and I was looking for someone who still believes in doing right without reward." Her words felt unreal, but then she added, "Your old boss will soon realize what he's lost." Mrs. Howard revealed that she owned a chain of luxury car companies, and the garage Jake worked at was once part of her network before she sold it. She had quietly visited the shop to test the staff's integrity. "Only you passed," she said. Jake could barely process what was happening. She offered him a position as her chief technical supervisor, overseeing her newest innovation center. Jake's jaw dropped. "Ma'am, I'm just a mechanic," he said nervously. She smiled. "That's exactly why you're perfect. You still work with your hands and your heart." But before he could accept, Mrs. Howard added one condition: he must face his old boss once more. Back at the garage, Jake's old boss was panicking. The 7 SUVs now lined outside his shop, attracting stares from every customer. Mrs. Howard entered with grace, her security team following silently. Mr. Cranston stuttered, "Mrs. Howard." "I didn't know," she raised a hand, silencing him. "You fired the only honest man here," she said. "And now, he's your replacement." Jake stepped forward, unsure how to feel. The staff looked on in disbelief. Mrs. Howard turned to Jake, her eyes firm but kind. "Integrity has a higher value than profit. Remember that." Cranston lowered his head in shame. For the first time, Jake realized kindness truly had power. Weeks passed, and Jake flourished in his new role. He designed efficient systems that made repairs cheaper for elderly and low-income clients, inspired by the wheelchair he'd fixed. Word spread quickly, customers loved his compassion and skill. News reporters came to feature his work, calling him the mechanic with a heart. Still, Jake stayed humble, often visiting the same old garage where it all began. When Cranston finally approached him, he didn't seek revenge. Instead, he offered him a handshake. "You taught me a lesson I'll never forget," Cranston admitted. Jake smiled, replying, "We all need a second chance, sir." Months later, Mrs. Howard hosted a ceremony honoring employees who had gone above and beyond. Jake stood on stage, nervous but proud, as she presented him with a medal engraved with the words, "Goodness is never wasted." The crowd applauded, but Jake's eyes searched for something else: purpose. He realized his journey wasn't about cars or titles. It was about humanity, respect, and doing what's right when no one is watching. As the event ended, Mrs. Howard leaned in and whispered, "Keep fixing hearts, Jake. Outside the hall, 7 black SUVs waited once again, but this time, they weren't a warning. They were a sign of the life his kindness had built.